I wanted to kind of change things up a bit. I want to kind of discuss more land use topics. I think the guests that we've had in the past, obviously early adopters for Brick+Work, that are mostly commercial brokers or an architect, right? That kind of are sharing their use cases, and that's fine. That's the majority of our users are commercial brokers, but now I wanted to bring you guys in to discuss some topics that we haven't been able to in the past. So now, Jordan, I want to bring you in on ADUs, or accessory dwelling units. Now, I know that it was initially passed a few years ago. There's been updates and new iterations every year. I think maybe the way to describe it has been, they were initially restrictive in the beginning, but they're getting looser, if that makes any sense, with the standards, right? So yeah, if you want to do it just very, general description of what an ADU is, and I guess what's the purpose of these ADUs?
Sure. And so, I mean, thanks again for, having me. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, I mean, basically, if you think about it, it's kind of just reinventing the wheel for lack of a better term, not to discredit this incentive or program by any means. But, these have been notoriously known as granny flats over the decades. And so granny flats is nothing new. It's, you go convert your detached garage, you move in grandma or whatever, and there you go, right? So now, as you had mentioned, it's becoming kind of a loosening of these restrictions. And I think, again, why you think this program is here is because, in a perfect world, it's supposed to help home affordability, right? It essentially, those who can't afford a 5, 6, 7, whatever, close to a seven-figure mortgage, right? They can't carry a loan at 30, 20, 15-year fixed costs, right? So the only way to really do it is if you can somehow debt service or offset some of that income. And so if you have that structure, if you have that 2-car garage, that's enough for a studio, right? And rent, I mean, most of you here, I'm sure, are brokers, and if you guys know where rents are going in LA, I mean, we are very COVID resilient. It seems like here in LA, and it seems like rents are although they are kind of plateauing, I feel like a little bit, they are kind of still way up there. And so a studio easily, almost no matter where you are in LA, 12, 15, 1,800 a month. And so that's a lot of income for the mom and pop, or for anyone, for the millennial, for the young couple starting family that needs a little bit of something to get their starter home going, because I think not everyone wants that infill, urban style living. Some people wouldn't mind getting out there and kind of having that backyard space. Yeah, I mean, again, as I said, in a perfect world, this is meant for home, to help increase home buyers. But you are seeing this as a tool for investment, as a tool for developers, and in the most recent iteration of the ADU ordinance, it applies to now multifamilies. So this is a ever-evolving ordinance, always a topic of discussion at cities and planning and land use meetings, and just curious to see where we'll be this time next year.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, Mia, on ADU?
I just wonder, are we seeing that happen yet with the multifamily units? Are they starting to have the ADUs now?
So we're starting to see, like, for example, I think the way this ordinance is intended is for folks to really, it's for the folks that have maybe a 4-plex or 8-plex or 12, 16, something to, if they have a little bit of excess parking, if they have a rec room, if they have a boiler, something that's not residential square footage that could be converted to something, excess closet space, whatever, then for every 4 legal units you have, you're entitled to 1 ADU, right? So if you have the 4-plex, you get another ADU. You have the 8-plex, you get 2. You have 12, you get 3, right? So I haven't really seen too much of those. I hope they are being used, but in all honesty, the interest we are getting right now are from developers saying, at a much larger level, much larger scale, hey, we're building 100 units, 200 units, 50, I don't know, 250. We're purposely going to build a little bit extra parking spaces so we can come back and if we have 100 units, we come back, we get one for every 4. That's another 25, 80. So we're seeing a lot of those types of questions, kind of like creative, outside the box. I don't really think it's, meant to be, but, I think in speaking with, building officials, I think if one were to apply for that, technically it's within the realm, right? But whether or not that becomes a point of contention or topic of discussion politically or within the city departments for let's say planning department, for example, and could this be fine-tuned or finessed in the future? Absolutely. I mean, it's just a matter of, we have to see how it unfolds. But yeah, to answer your question, it's intended for these smaller multifamily, but the interest we're really getting is kind of from these, larger 100 plus uniters.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Where is that in the pipeline? So I know a lot of these, they're obviously state bills, right? And then they either get passed exactly as written or as proposed, or they kind of get edited down. So maybe the initial intent was to be very, open. And then I know a couple iterations of these bills in previous years relied on more of a that city or that county to then determine, what restrictions they wanted to add on the ADU. So the size or attached, detached, like all that stuff. Is this a current proposal right now? And does it get voted in at the end of the year or beginning of next year?
So the ADU was probably, it was revamped. And I apologize, I didn't really brush up too clearly on this, but I want to say it was probably revamped somewhere between 2014 and 2016. I think there was a lawsuit brought to the city. I think at the time it was very restricted. Nothing more than I think 500 or 640 square feet, I think was the maximum for the ADU at the time. And as a result of several lawsuits and whatnot, and I think some really strong very firm touch from the state, for lack of a better word. They came with the state ADU ordinance that said, hey guys, you can't, 1,200, everyone gets 1,200 square feet, right? And I want to say that 1,200 rule has probably been around since maybe 2016, right? But then over the years, it's been updated. So to answer the short answer is yes, this is in effect, right? And every year it kind of gets tapered a little bit lighter and lighter. So originally it was like a 1,200 square foot ADU. And then you required the carport. Then it became less stringent if you're within certain linear footage of a stop. You're exempt from the carport, right? So then it became even less strict. And then you started hearing about junior accessory dwelling units, which you essentially get 3 lots on the property now. And I think a little hook to that is you have to be the actual homeowner. I don't think you could be for an investment purpose. I don't know if there's some type of covenant or a document involved, but for homeowners, you can do, if you're truly owner occupied, you could do it as a junior ADU up to 500 square feet. And now to recently, as of January 1st of this year, multifamily, you can get 1 ADU for every 4. Let's see what happens January 1st, 2021. Is it going to apply to like hotel conversions, office space? I guess technically in today, any commercial space can be changed to resident, but it's just curious to know how else this can, like I said, it's been ever evolving, I want to say, since 2014.
Yeah, that's great.